Hello, another interview today on the podcast. Today's interview is with Imran Khwaja. Imran's a partner in a Singapore law firm. I used to be a partner in the same firm, but more significantly for this purpose, he is the deputy chair of the International Cricket Council. And it's great to think that such a good person is right at the top of our sport. We have a wide-ranging discussion covering his own passion for the game, the inequalities between both the full members and, of course, between full members and associate members, and the future of Test cricket. Enjoy. Hello, and today is our second interview at Readings from the Pavilion End, and my guest this afternoon is Imran Khwaja, Vice Chair of the International Cricket Council. Good afternoon, Imran.
Good afternoon, Bill.
First, let's get a little personal background. How did you get interested in cricket yourself?
I come from a family, where cricket has been a part of my life since a very, very early age. My grandfather played, my father played, all my brothers played. So by sheer force of what was going on in the household, I ended up playing. And then subsequently, of course, there was cricket in schools and I played it in schools and all that. But it was such a strong feature in our lives that my grandfather used to have an oriental carpet that he used to carry with him every Sunday, which he would take to the Padang to watch the matches at the Singapore Cricket Club. And he would lay out this lush carpet on the grass, and we children would be running around him while he watched cricket. And in the years that followed, I too would be on the field playing. And, I would remember those days of the family involvement, my grandfather, my father watching, and we would have picnics. But all in all, it's almost a tradition in the family to be involved and to play cricket.
In your capacity at the ICC, I think you're responsible. You're chairman of the development committee. Is that right? Yes,
amongst other committees.
And you obviously come from an associate country, and I imagine you look after the interests of associate countries.
Inter alia, in my capacity as chairman of the associates, which I was then. I look after the associate countries, 97 of them. And then as a board member, I pursue the interests of the game, the organization, and the full members.
Back to the associates, in Singapore in particular, are there special challenges in promoting cricket in a country like Singapore? I mean, you talk about schools cricket. Is schools cricket as prominent now as it was when you were a boy?
Most definitely not. But the problem, so we have the capacity and the potential to be a strong cricket playing nation. We have the talent, and with the demographics as it does exist, I think we can feature strongly. The problem is, insofar as, and I'll use the word indigenous for the local Singaporeans who are eligible to play, though in Singapore that would be many races, we all end up at the prime of our lives going into national service. And then about 2.5 years in between here and there is lost. And many would say that the peak period where we would excel in the game has gone in service of the nation, of which, of course, we are proud, but the game suffers on account.
Right. How about women's cricket? Is women's cricket developing in Singapore?
Women's cricket was not a big thing in Singapore. It's internationally become a major part of the cricket programs. We do have a cricket team. It's not as well developed as it could be, but it is an area of our cricketing growth that I think we should invest more time and energy into, because that is the great leveler for us. And we could feature as strongly as any other nation and climb the rungs of competitiveness very rapidly. So I think it's something that we in Singapore want to pursue strongly.
So you could see Singapore competing, say, in a T20 World Championship in the next,
Well, it's interesting that you formulated that question on the basis of the T20 format, which in my view is a format which on the day anybody can beat anybody. And if we can reach that threshold of being, say, on the world rankings at number 20 and then making it into a 20-team World Cup, I think on a good day we could beat a full member nation. We have actually beaten Afghanistan, albeit before they became a test-playing nation, but we have that potential in Singapore. And on the T20 format, I do see, if we play our cards right, that we can be there, up there with anybody else.
So that's men's team you're talking about?
Men's team, and that also, because of the nature of the format, would apply to the girls, provided they reach a certain degree of proficiency.
Yes. Okay. Now, moving on to the ICC generally. The ICC it's the sport's governing body. Can you describe the role of the ICC as you see it in a general way?
The ICC is a bit of a schizophrenic body. So there are days it feels that it is a governing body, that it must manage cricket internationally, the development of the game. Then there are days it's a bit of a regulatory body, a disciplinary body. But essentially, I see it as managing the growth of the game and embedding it in countries that are not playing it. And ICC has a big role to play to propagate the game. And for many countries, it's not just the propagation of the game, but it's increasing its competitiveness. And this is where it has a big role to play for the associate membership, because with enough financial resources and the wherewithal that ICC can give to these countries, I mean, many of the associate countries can be up there with the full members.
In terms of the full members, of course, I think the ICC is responsible for the major events like the T20 World Cup that took place in the West Indies and the United States recently, and before that, the 50-over World Cup in India.
Yes.
To what extent are these events actually run by the ICC?
So somewhere in that question is some plea for controversy, but so to what extent would an ICC event be managed by the host country, particularly India? India is a considerable force in international cricket, whether on and off the field, whether in terms of administration or whether in terms of what it brings to the game. Strictly speaking, there's always a local organizing committee where an ICC event is being played. The competencies of the local organizing committees would vary from country to country. But by and large, between the local organizing committee of any country, including India or any other nation, and together with ICC's own stable of expertise, we always maintain a standard of cricket and broadcasting, which I must say is as good as any other sport in the world, you know. Whether inherent in your question is whether a country with great economic might like India, there is a greater deal of influence. Well, I'm not aware of that. Yes, there is a greater deal of influence in terms of their economic might, but I think they do bestow a degree of independence to the ICC in managing the ICC events. Bilaterals, of course, are a different cup of tea.
Yeah. But your influence as the governing body, I imagine it is naturally limited by all sorts of considerations. I imagine you couldn't say to India and Pakistan, you have to start playing together. There are too many issues that are not related to cricket, which would make it impossible for you as a governing body to say that, I'm assuming. In terms of bilateral series, of course, they'd have to play against each other in ICC events.
Okay. So to put it in context, insofar as ICC events are concerned, they are bound to play each other under the structure that exists in the membership, right? In terms of bilaterals, we have very little to do with bilaterals. ICC, I mean by we. apart from giving the infrastructure support, it's between the two countries. Right? Whether it's good for the game where the Indias and the Pakistans in those equations end up not playing each other, and whether ICC should have jurisdiction over bilaterals, I think that's a big question. I mean, a lot depends what we're looking for the future tours program to be doing. What is happening at the moment is that the top nations are playing each other because it's a more financially lucrative formula. As a consequence of which, the countries who have great potential below the top 4 full member nations, and we don't have to go into names, lose out on this whole formula, right? So maybe the FTP has to be re-honed in a manner where ICC takes over the whole thing. It becomes a contractual obligation between all the parties, and then there is less room for each member to say, I don't want to play you because, say, for example, my government says this, or because of some force majeure, which will then have to be looked at its merits. So it would be easier to manage it if an independent body was in charge of the whole thing, like the ICC. But that's not the current situation. And I think there would be great resistance to handing jurisdiction over to a separate body.
Right. A lot of these things come down to money in the end, don't they? And we talked about India, the financial might of India. And of course, a lot of money is made for the game through individual countries' television contracts, and there's the whole thing about franchise cricket.
Yes.
At the end of the day, there are again, just looking at the full member countries, there are sort of vast inequalities between, as you suggest, the top 3 and everybody else. Is there anything that the ICC can do about that inequality, or is that something that's entirely out of ICC's control?
It's not, because in my view, the standards a country achieves is mostly from the fact that they play a lot of competitive cricket. I would dare go so far as to say some of the top associates played as much cricket in competitive conditions, they would be knocking on the doors of being full members. So from that viewpoint, everyone has the distinction of between full member and associate member. But the real distinctions actually exist within the full members themselves, right? Number 1 and number 12 on some days are east and west, right? What can the ICC do? The ICC can make more funds available to countries to ensure that they have the financial means to play more cricket. But having the financial means to play cricket does not translate into the big boys giving you a game. They may not give you a game because the world goes round on account of dollars and cents, and it's not good financial sense to be playing some types of matches. So unless some sort of mandatory full FTP scheme is created, these vagaries of variance are going to exist for the near future. You know, I mean, we can have another chat as to what can be done to bridge these gaps, but at the moment, they are difficult gaps to cross.
Right. Of course, money is one issue. Just simple scheduling is another issue.
That's the FTP problem. Yeah?
As an example, West Indies toured England this year, and I saw the first Test match. And West Indies, who I think are potentially quite a good side, were steamrollers in this Test because there was no opportunity to play any warm-up games, so there just isn't time. And then in England, you have the 100. And, of course, franchise cricket is taking up so much time. Was there a time when the ICC could have sat down with the boards and said, look, we have to see how much time could be given over to franchise cricket? Could they have done that then? Is it too late to do it now if they could have done? And in fact, is the answer, you can't do anything because franchise cricket is almost like a private thing, which countries do independently.
I think the commercial growth of any sport, and that includes cricket, is organic. And what's happened over the years, everyone's gone for what is the most lucrative formula. So franchise cricket, led by one particular country, has shown that there is big bucks in that particular format, which is part of franchise cricket. And I think it's going to be difficult to stop this juggernaut and to say to players that, you have to play less financially lucrative games, although it's for your national flag. There are too many tensions there. But I'm actually with you, because at some juncture you're going to ask me about Test cricket and limited over white ball cricket. I must say that because of my own belief that the only true form of cricket is Test cricket, in that we somehow have to manage.
Well, you're absolutely right. That was going to be my next question. How do you see the future of that? Is it possible to... some people say, but maybe people have been saying it for 100 years, that Test cricket is doomed.
I don't think Test cricket is doomed. My own view is Test cricket is very much alive. I'm not with the naysayers. You can see from recent Test matches that they've aroused considerable interest. They've had very competitive ends to the matches and the results. I think it is something that is going to grow, provided we manage the other formats of cricket. Because the essence of cricket is Test cricket.
Yeah. But it does, again, it comes down to money up to a point. For some countries, staging, say, a 3-match Test series is a very expensive thing. And some countries, often they seem to be almost nobody at the ground. There might be people who are interested, but often they're played before empty stadiums. And you do sometimes wonder, how long can this go on? Particularly if the younger players are thinking, I could be earning a lot more money playing franchise cricket than doing this.
So I think the financial nuances of the game are a big factor, but I think in terms of fan engagement and fan enjoyment, it is my belief that Test cricket will give to the cricket puritan a greater satisfaction in watching cricket. And I think a lot of younger people are getting more engaged in Test cricket. And I think if more money can be thrown at the lesser Test playing nations to bring their standards to a certain level where there is more competitiveness, and not just amongst 4 countries but amongst 8 countries, I think the landscape relating to Test cricket will change.
Well, it's very encouraging to hear you say that. I just have 2 final questions for you, Imran. One of them is very specific, actually. It relates to Afghanistan.
Yes.
Because, of course, I think the development of Afghanistan is one of cricket's great stories. We're all familiar with this. And it's amazing that the men's team is doing so well. But with the return of the Taliban, the women's team has vanished. And I know that my understanding, anyway, is that the ICC is very keen to encourage the development, it has to encourage the development of women's cricket and youth cricket and everything else. And so some countries, I believe, have been penalised because women's cricket is not being appropriately encouraged. I think France, there was a problem a few months ago.
Yes.
But Afghanistan, of course, women's test team has apparently been banned. But Afghanistan, the men's team, is still taking part in ICC trophies. What's the ICC's position on...
Okay, so ICC actually has not passed any sanctions or anything, and there's no aspect of banning of any team. The position of women's cricket is that women's cricket was being played in Afghanistan. When there was a change of government, there was an edict at the highest of levels saying that they could not participate in society in certain ways, including sports. Insofar as our member is concerned, which is the Afghanistan Cricket Board, right? Yeah. It has run women's cricket. It is supportive of women's cricket. It has a budget for women's cricket. But the matter is out of its control, right? So the question then is, where a member has done whatever it can do, on account of a government decision, do you then punish them, right? I, for one, don't see that if we took disciplinary action against the Afghanistan Cricket Board, which is essentially an action against the men's cricket team, that it will bring women's cricket back on the field. It won't.
Yeah.
In fact, we will be doing damage to possibly the most exciting team in the last 15 years. So yes, it is a problem. Yes, the general consensus is, and it's a mighty chorus, that women should take part as equals to men, and they should enjoy parity in the sports. But we cannot be taking positions where we are threatening governments to do our bidding, right? So it's a conundrum, right? It's not one that is easy to solve. We can have our approach where we talk to these governments, inverted commas, where we try and persuade them. And I can tell you that some overtures have been made to discuss this with them. There have been positive messages sent out, but it is a slow process.
Yes, of course.
Because even within this particular country and the people who are making these decisions, there is a divided opinion. So I understand, right?
Yeah.
So we just have to be a little patient, and I think there will be a solution beckoning us in the right direction in the not too distant future.
I see in the Olympics there were, I think, 3 female Afghan athletes.
Right. That's right.
And the Taliban is, to be fair to the Taliban, they're not the Taliban of 20 years ago.
Correct.
It was. Yeah.
Correct. And there is a difference in thinking on this whole matter, even amongst the top leadership at the moment. That's what our contact with them has
Right.
the messages that have been sent back.
Is that part of your personal remit? Are you involved
Yes, I'm
in
the
that?
chair of the Afghanistan committee. So it's an interesting problem to try and solve.
Yes.
But I'd be sorry if the Afghanistan men's team have to pay the price for something that they have no control over.
Is there youth development in Afghanistan? Is this current generation is very good, but is there a pipeline of talent coming through?
In every member has to have a strategic plan. The Afghanistan Cricket Board does have, and you will notice that there are fresh faces coming into the Afghanistan cricket team, men's team, their under-19 team. So there is renewal that is taking place. Whether it's adequate or not, I'm not able to answer that question at this stage.
Right.
But there is a lot of activity going on, and generally speaking, Taliban is very supportive of cricket.
Okay.
Because it's emblematic of the success they enjoy internationally.
Yeah. Okay. One last question. If you were Mr. Cricket, the real governing person, can you think of one change that you would make to either the laws or the playing conditions or anything that you think would make a difference to cricket moving forward?
The one thing that I think will make a big difference to our image internationally, will have far-reaching consequences to the membership, is to do away with the distinction of full member and associate member, and to have one tier of membership, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you have promotion, relegation of the member in terms of whatever the finances, in terms of what you bring to the game, in terms of your competitive ability. And if you tick all the right boxes, then say after every 3 years, you are remeasured in terms of this criteria, and then you move up and down. And that way, once a full member, always a full member motto will disappear, and the associate members will finally have a meaningful ladder to rise up. And I think once this takes place, the game will enjoy a growth that it has not seen thus far, because there's a bit of despair at the bottom end of the game that no matter how far I get, I will never be a full member.
Ceiling, as it were. Yes.
and I think that will have to be broken. And with that, naturally, will come the issues of how do we distribute our funds. The associates will no longer be condemned to the lower tiers of payment, because if they perform, they can get more money and therefore have more ability to compete.
That is very interesting, Imran. Thank you very much for speaking to the
Not at
podcast.
all. Not at all.
Thank
It's
you.
been my pleasure.
Thanks. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe, and you can do that by looking at the website where you found this. Recommend to your friends, and I'm more than happy to take requests. Thank you.